Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show podcast, coming from right here in my quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea, and Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2025. Being New Year's Day, I gave the crew the day off in case they wanted to celebrate last night. Didn't want them to have to get up early and come into work this morning. I'm impressed any of you are here. You've dragged yourselves out of bed to be here and join me here today. Good to have you guys here on the first episode of the new year. Good to have you guys here. Thanks a lot for joining me. And here's how our show's going to go today. We're going to start off by talking about a couple of predetermined topics that I've got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions. Now, days that I do the show solo are a little bit different, because it's a little more complicated bringing up all the questions that people send into our tip link, which is normally how we take questions on the John Campea Show. But on days that I do the show solo, it's just a lot easier for me to take in questions via the super chat. So if you're watching live and you're in the live chat right now and you have to be watching live, you can send on in a question for me to address a little bit later in the show using the super chat feature in the live chat. And for those of you who have sent in questions via the tip link, don't worry about it. We'll get around to answering those on the show tomorrow once everybody is back in studio. All right, guys, I hope a lot of you guys had a fun, safe New Year's Eve last night. Ann and I kept it a little bit more low key. This is the first year in ever that we just decided to have a low key New Year's Eve at home, just us and the dogs and a movie and stuff like that. So that's what we did. But I hope you guys had a good time last night. So listen, without any further ado, let's jump into some things here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. You know, the Marvel Disney Plus shows are very hit and miss, right? I mean, you've had WandaVision, which is really good, Ms. Marvel, which was really good, but then you get things like Secret Invasion, you get things like, I don't know, Moon Knight, that started well, kind of fizzled a bit. Anyway, it's hit and miss. Along came Agatha. And I had some hope in Agatha because I really love Catherine Hahn, and I really loved her character in WandaVision. And then the show came out, and the show did really well. Like, it was one of the few Disney Plus shows that week after week, the viewership numbers went up and up and up and up. Not many Marvel, either Star Wars or Marvel Disney Plus shows ever do that. Very few of them do. A couple of them do, and when they do, it's pretty special. So those numbers kept going up and up and up and up. Audiences seemed to really like it. I thought the show was great. I mean, I don't think it was as good as Ms. Marvel or WandaVision, but I thought the show was great. I had a really good time with it. I was surprised by how, interconnected the story was, how well it was all kind of laid out as they started connecting certain threads in the last part of the episodes. Anyway, one of the big things about Agatha, though, was that it was advertised as a miniseries, right? A limited series. It was going to be one season and done. Well, you guys might remember that shortly after the season finished airing, word came out that Disney submitted Agatha All Along to the Emmys, not in the best limited series category, but in the best comedy category. And now they've kind of made it official. This comes from the folks over at Comic Book Movie who wrote, "We already had a good idea." Let me back up a little bit. They wrote, "Recent rumors have claimed that Agatha All Along will return for a second batch of episodes. And while Marvel Studios has yet to make it official, the Wanda spin-off series, which was originally tagged as a miniseries, is now listed on Disney Plus as, quote-unquote, Season 1. They have changed the terminology of Agatha All Along from a miniseries to Season 1. Now, like they point out in the article, Disney hasn't come out and announced Agatha All Along Season 2 yet, but I guarantee you it's coming. again, you just got to take a couple things in consideration here. Number one, the fact that they removed it from the best limited series race to the best comedy series race. Two, the fact that they now removed the label miniseries or limited series and are now officially calling it season 1, which implies that there's going to be a season 2. Reason 3 is, like we discussed a little bit earlier, the fact that not many Disney Plus shows have their viewership go up and up and up every single week. Usually they start pretty good and then they start to decline, and then maybe at the finale they get a little bit of a spike in interest. That's the normal pattern for a Disney Plus show. But a couple of them, boom, 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 viewership keeps going up. And when that happens, you're like, you recognize something's working. And Agatha all along worked. I know there's still people out there who are some naysayers about Agatha all along, but it's a really good show. And I joke about it, but it's funny because Disney Plus had one show about singing lesbian witches, Acolyte, which was terrible, and another show about singing lesbian witches, and it's fantastic. Go figure. I guess that wasn't the determining factor as to whether the show was good or not. But anyway, yeah, I thought Agatha was great. Now, look. Even as somebody who quite liked the show, even as somebody who really liked the show, I gotta say, I didn't completely love how they resolved it. Like, I didn't love the whole, I'm a ghost now, and now, you and me are going to go off on a adventure looking for your brother, try to figure out where your brother is and all that kind of stuff. I would have kind of liked a little bit more of a definitive ending to the season. That's fine. I'm not really big on her ending up as a ghost per se. That's fine. I'm sure probably if they do a Wanda season 2 or an Agatha, season 2, I think either one of two things will happen. Number one, the show starts with her already having a physical body again. And then in some flashback sequence, they explain how they did it. Or two, in like episode 1 or 2, she'll get a body back. Because I don't think I'm the only one who doesn't really want to watch Ghost Agatha running around. So, I don't know. Maybe they've got a great idea. Maybe they have a fabulous idea. But I'm going to guess we are going to get a season 2 because it's one of the few Marvel Disney Plus shows that have truly, truly worked. And I also believe we're probably going to get her back in a physical body because the whole ghost thing, I don't think that's going to work. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Disney has now officially removed the miniseries, limited series tags off of Agatha all along. It's now officially season 1. Do you think that pretty much puts a nail in it that we're going to get a season 2? If so, what do you think they're going to do with it? Are we going to have the ghost adventures of Agatha? Is she going to get a corporeal form again? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? James Gunn taking over the DCU and becoming the new CEO with his partner, Peter Safran. The CEO of DC, now for the first time ever, DC having its own dedicated studio. They're getting the same treatment that Marvel got from Disney. Remember, all the DC films before were made under Warner Brothers. They didn't have their own specific film division. Now they do. And their first new head is James Gunn and Peter Safran. And right now, the whole world is James Gunn's oyster. Because between the trailer for Superman, which became the 5th highest viewed trailer in the first 24 hours in the history of trailers, and aside from a small vocal corner of the fandom, en masse, the world seemed to love the new Superman trailer. So good on him. Creature Commandos, which I think is okay. Again, I've only watched the first 2 episodes. I'm not in love with Creature Commandos, to be honest with you, but everybody else in the world seems to be. So that's another big win for James Gunn. The big announcement came out yesterday. Jason Momoa officially confirms that he's going to be Lobo in the new DCU. Everybody likes that. We've kind of been speculating about that for almost 2 years now. Everybody liked that announcement. So right now, everything's kind of going for James Gunn and momentum. But then a piece of news came out the other day. I don't know if you saw this. but a report started going around that the new Batman movie, not Matt Reeves' Batman, but the DCU Batman movie, Brave and the Bold, was delayed. Have you heard this? That Brave and the Bold was delayed. Now, I gotta say, when I first heard that report, it was a little confusing to me because I went, did I miss something? Did they ever announce a release date for Batman Brave and the Bold? I don't think they did. How can one delay a Brave and the Bold movie that was never given a release date yet in the first place? Like I could tell you, hey, listen, I'm planning on buying a new house. Me and Ann are planning on buying a new house. We're not, by the way. We love our house. But I'm just saying, if Ann and I was like, hey, Ann and I are planning on buying a new house. And whenever we do, I'm going to invite you to the housewarming party. Well, when is this housewarming party? Well, we don't know. We don't know when we're getting the house, but at some point we're going to get a new house. And when we do, you'll be invited to the housewarming party. You could then not come up to me next week and say, hey, is the housewarming party delayed? How could the housewarming party, which never had a date, be delayed? That was just what went through my head, right? That's just what went through my head when I heard this report going around that Brave and the Bold had been delayed. Well, that same report got to the ears of James Gunn, and James Gunn is saying, no, Brave and the Bold isn't delayed. This is what he said. This comes to us from Batman News, where it says this: it seems that the Brave and the Bold isn't delayed after all, according to DC Studios co-chair James Gunn. As Christmas week drew to a close, Andy Muschietti, who of course directed the Flash movie and was pegged to be the director of Brave and the Bold, Andy Muschietti appeared on the California Secreta, I'm not familiar with the podcast, and said that the Brave and the Bold was delayed. According to a translation from Collider, Muschietti said of the upcoming project, I'm now writing a science fiction movie that I would like to do. Batman is a project that's been postponed a bit, so there could be another film before that, possibly that one. James Gunn was asked about that on social media and replied that he didn't know anything about it. Brave and the Bold, this is coming from the CEO of DC, Brave and the Bold hasn't been delayed, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. Okay. Let's take a look at this. So first of all, Brave and the Bold is not delayed, all right? James Gunn's come out and said it's not delayed. Okay, so then why would the guy that James Gunn picked to be the director of Brave and the Bold come out and say that Brave and the Bold has been delayed? That's a very good question. Here's my theory, okay? This is my theory. I might be right. I might be wrong. You tell me what you think about this, okay? Here's my theory. I do not believe Andy Muschietti is writing Brave and the Bold, okay? I don't think he's the one writing it. And remember, James Gunn has said we're not announcing any release dates for anything until we have a completed, finished script. Remember? He talked about that a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned it on the show. So James Gunn has said, we are not announcing any release dates for movies that we do not have completed, finished, ready to go scripts in our hands. I bet Marvel wished they did that with Blade. Still, it's a very, very good philosophy for them to have. And I don't believe Andy Muschietti is writing Brave and the Bold. I think there's another writer doing Brave and the Bold. Andy Muschietti will be directing. So here's my take on it. My guess is, and again, it's just a guess, is that maybe Muschietti thought the script would have been done already at this point. And maybe him seeing that it's taking a little bit longer than he thought for the script to get completed, like totally complete, locked, and have James Gunn approve it. He's been like, oh, maybe I've got more time than I thought. I'll start writing something else while I'm waiting for this. I want to go back to specifically what Muschietti said. His specific words were, I'm now writing a science fiction movie that I like to do. The Batman project that's been postponed a bit. So to me, because clearly James Gunn didn't say it's postponed. He said, no, it's not delayed. Again, how can you delay something that doesn't have a release date? That makes no sense. So my guess is that in Muschietti's mind, it's just taking a little longer getting the script than he thought it would. So he thought, it's been postponed a bit, so I'm writing something else. I think it's probably as simple as that. I could be wrong, but I think it's something as simple as that. And that's probably it. Now, still, if it's not something as simple as that, I think this is something James Gunn needs to get under control. I'm not saying Andy Muschietti spoke out of turn. Like, if that's Andy Muschietti's perception of the situation, he goes, you know what, it's just taking longer than I thought. And maybe that's just how we remember. English is not Andy's first language, right? Just remember that. I don't believe, I could be wrong about it, but I'm pretty sure English is not Andy Muschietti's first language. So maybe it's just lost in translation a bit. But I don't think there's anything wrong with Andy Muschietti saying, you know, if it's just taking a little bit longer than he thought to use the words, it's been postponed a bit. I'm writing something else right now just while I'm waiting. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But from James Gunn's perspective, I think James Gunn, as the head of the studio, has to make sure there's more clear communication about everything that's going on and every step of the process that they're in between him and his filmmakers. And that's what Andy Muschietti is. He's one of his filmmakers. And so, again, I think this is much ado about nothing, to be honest with you. But, again, I think this is a little bit of a sign, hey, James, you need to make sure the lines of communication are clear and open with your filmmakers all the time so that little things like this don't happen and confuse some people. Because I think a lot of people got a little bit confused and concerned when they saw, it's been delayed. It hasn't been delayed because there was never a release date in the first place. But again, I think this is just a sign that they need to have more clear communication. Now, I saw somebody in the live chat asking me if I think they already have their Batman cast. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure that, here's my guess. My guess is they've already got their Batman cast. You guys got to remember, when the internet exploded at the announcement that Ben Affleck was going to be Batman. And I remember me and John Schnepp did a live stream 5 minutes after the announcement, and I feel like we were the only people on the internet who were saying this is a good move, and it was. Casting Ben Affleck as Batman was great. Any problems that happened in the DCEU, none of those problems was Ben Affleck as Batman. That being said, when they announced Ben Affleck was Batman, remember, later we found out, Ben Affleck revealed later on that it had literally been 6 months since he had been cast as Batman. Like, he was cast as Batman, and then it wasn't for another 6 months that they made the announcement. I do guess that they do have their new Batman. I have no idea who it is. Like, not a clue. No, I don't even have the slightest guess as to who the new Batman is going to be. But my guess is it's already cast. It may not be, but my guess is it is. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? There's that report going around that Brave and the Bold have been delayed, but the CEO of Disney's come out and said, or Disney, the CEO of DC has come out and said, no, it's not delayed. Anyway, what do you make of all that? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's get on to one of my favorite segments of the year. It's 2025, everybody. Brand new year. Happy New Year. And we got a whole new fresh slate of movies in front of us. 2024 had some big stinkers, but you know what? There were some freaking awesome films in 2024 and a couple of new members of the $1 Billion Club. Actually, right now, I think correct me if I'm wrong, right now there's two. Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, but it looks like there's going to be a third member joining that, Moana, because Moana's crossing $900 million today, so it'll probably get to the $1 billion mark. Anyway, we had a couple of $1 billion films in 2024. I like looking forward to 2025, and this is not my most anticipated movies of the year list. Tomorrow, we'll talk about my most anticipated movies of 2025. On Friday, when Chris Carr is back in with us, we're going to do our full best 10 films of the year of 2024. But today we're talking about one of my favorite topics. Looking ahead to the movies of 2025 and projecting which ones will be the newest members of that ever exclusive $1 billion club. Again, right now, as of now, only 2 films in 2024 did it. I want to present to you 10 films that I believe have the potential to join that $1 billion club. And we're going to do them in order from the least likely, like has a chance, but it's the least likely chance, all the way up to number 1, which is like ironclad guarantee will be $1 billion film. All right? You with me? And then if you guys feel free to fire into the super chats if you have films you think I left off the list or have some comments on the order of my list. All right, we're going to start off with this. I'm going to start off with 2 outside honorable mentions that I'm not really predicting would hit $1 billion, but for certain reasons there may be an outside chance. Okay, so the first honorable mention I'm gonna throw out here is Brad Pitt's F1. And the reason I'm going to put Brad Pitt's F1 as an outlier, as something just for us to keep an eye on, is not because Brad Pitt is a $1 billion star. Very, very, very few people are $1 billion stars. But it's simply because it's F1. I am not an F1 fan. I'm a big sports guy, but I've never followed really any kind of motorsports, to be honest with you. But, you know, recently they just brought the F1 circuit to Las Vegas, and like hundreds of thousands of people from around the world fly in. It is one of the biggest sporting things in the world. It's not something I follow, but it's one of the biggest sporting things in the world. And with that kind of international following, I thought I should at least put it on the honorable mention. So again, I'm not saying it's not on my list. F1 is not on my list, but it is on the honorable mention, just kind of one of the 2 outliers that we should keep our eye on. All right, so that's F1. The other film, the second film that I'm going to say is one of the outliers, doesn't make it to the top 10 list, but is a movie we should keep our eyes on, is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Or sorry, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Final Reckoning. I can't remember, what did Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning box office do? I think it was like, what did it make? Like 500 million? Let me just pull it up here. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 made 570 million. Now, then you might say, well, John, if the last one only made like 570 million, why would you even include it as an outlier? I'd include it as an outlier is because I think Dead Reckoning was an unusual case. I thought it was a really good movie. I enjoyed it a lot. We've seen Mission Impossible have bigger numbers, although I don't think Mission Impossible has ever made $1 billion. But I'm going to just put it out there. It's probably going to be Tom Cruise's final Mission Impossible movie. He hasn't said that, but I'm just going to throw it out there that I think this might be Tom Cruise's final Mission Impossible movie, although he may choose to do another one. And I think because of those things, the history of the franchise, the fact that it may be his last one, again, I'm not predicting at all that it's going to be a $1 billion film. I'm not even saying it has a great chance. I'm just saying it's one of those things that I think has to at least be considered as an outlier, as a possibility. All right. With that down, guys, let's go on to my top 10 list in order from least likely but has a chance to ironclad guarantee number 1 will absolutely do it. And if you are ready, let's begin. At number 10, Marvel and the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts I'm going to put in there at number 10. Now, look, I don't really think the chances are high for Thunderbolts, okay? I'm not saying the chances are high, but the trailers, the teasers, the the previews have been really good. They've been really good. And granted, this is a bunch of B-listers, but listen, if I had to guess, my guess is somewhere around $650 million. That's my guess. And again, a lot of that depends on how good the movie is. Like, we don't know if the movie's going to be garbage or if it's going to be the best movies Marvel's ever made. We just don't know. But without having that information yet, I would just say way outside $650 million, maybe a ceiling of 700, but that's close enough and in striking range. And the fact is, it's a Marvel movie that I think you have to at least give it a place on this list of one of those films that very well could end up big. Because listen, I'm seeing a lot of people in the live chat saying 700 million, 750 million. That's great. But that puts it within striking distance of that $1 billion mark. And if the movie is fantastic, you don't think it could add another 25% if the movie's absolutely fantastic? Again, not a movie I'm picking to join the $1 billion club, but one that I think has to be on the list of one of the films we got to keep our eyes on. Okay, so that's my number 10 film. The number 9, I would say, most likely film to join the $1 billion club this year, Captain America: Brave New World. Now, some of the reasons against it, some people might say, John, why do you have it so low on your list? The reason I have it so low on my list is because it's got several hurdles to get over. The first hurdle is it's not Captain America. It's Sam Wilson donning the mantle of Captain America. I mean, look, Chris Evans as Captain America has been one of the, if not the most beloved character of the MCU. And I understand, well, in comics, Bucky sometimes been Captain America, Sam's been Captain. I get all that. I do get all that, but this is the MCU. It's not the comic books. And suddenly having somebody else wearing the mantle, I think it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle. The second reason I think it's got a little bit of an uphill battle is because of the fact that it's going to have the perception of being a TV show that's coming to the movie screen. Because remember, they did Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and that's where Sam really took up the shield and embraced the mantle of Captain America. So it's going to have a little bit of that perception that it's a TV show being transitioned into a movie, and I think that works against it. Now, some of the things that are working for it, Anthony Mackie is awesome. I mean, I love Anthony Mackie. Hell, even in 8 Mile, I love Anthony Mackie in everything he's in. I don't necessarily love every movie he's in, but I love him in everything he's in. He's been a wonderful, wonderful part of the MCU as Falcon, whatever, and now in this transition. So and again, listen, we got Harrison Ford becoming a Hulk. That's all you need in your sales pitch. Just put that on the poster. Captain America 4: Brave New World. Harrison Ford becomes a Hulk. Do that, you're guaranteed to at least get some box office going. So we'll see. Now again, do I think Captain America: Brave New World will join the $1 billion club? Nah. My guess for Captain America: Brave New World is going to fall somewhere right around where I'm guessing Thunderbolts will be. 600, 700, maybe upper end 750. Like, it'll be profitable, it'll make money, but probably not. But it's close enough. It's in striking distance that if for some reason Captain America: Brave New World ends up being one of the best Marvel films ever, maybe it gets that 25% bump, and maybe it does get to $1 billion. Again, not saying it will. I'm just saying it's my number 9 most likely film to do it because it is within striking distance. So there you go. All right. Number 10, Thunderbolts. Number 9, Captain America: Brave New World. What's at my number 8 spot? My number 8 most likely film to join the $1 billion club in 2025 is Superman. Bum, 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 bum. Oh my God, Superman. I'm so excited for this. Now, number 8 is an interesting spot. Some people will say, John, why is it so low? Some people will say, John, why is it so high? Here's my thoughts on it. The things working against Superman is that The reputation of a DC cinematic universe to moviegoers is garbage right now. They ran the DCEU completely into the ground, and everybody gave up on it, and all the movies started flopping, and the audience had just basically given up on DC. Matt Reeves' Batman was a bit of an outlier because, it was a standalone thing. It was not part of that cinematic universe. It was something completely different on its own, made nearly $800 million, did really well, and that's great. But I really do think they have an uphill battle to win back the audience. I've been saying for a long time that the number one job of this Superman movie is not to make a bunch of money. They want the DCU to make a bunch of money. But for that to happen, the number one job of this movie is just to be a really good movie and start winning the confidence of the audience back. It's okay. It's okay. Everybody disagrees with me about this, but that's fine. I'm right, and it's often lonely being right. It is okay if this movie makes $400 million. It's okay if this movie makes $450 million. It's okay if the movie is fabulous and it wins over the critics and it wins over the audience and it starts to build the confidence in the DCU again, so that when Supergirl or Brave and the Bold or all the other DC movies they have coming out in the future, their box offices can be bigger and bigger and bigger. You can't think small picture. Oh, this one movie. No. They're thinking big pictures, these 10 movies. So they're okay. Now, would they rather this movie make $800 million? Absolutely, 100%. But they know that's not the important thing. They would rather this movie make $300 million and be loved by everybody than make $800 million and be mediocre and have people not really care about it. Because it's not about how much money does this one film make. It's about how much money does the next 10 films make. And to do that, this movie needs to be great. And that's why I've got it a little bit lower on its chances of lists. Well, John, then why do you have it on the list at all? I'll tell you why I have it on the list at all. Because the trailer was amazing. And beyond that, it is the biggest trailer release in the history of any DC film. It was the biggest, most viewed trailer release of any Warner Brothers film in history. And it was the number 5 all-time most viewed trailer in the first 24 hours in the history of trailers. And the reason I have it on this list at all is because guess what? Every other film in the top 5 trailer releases, every one of those other films all are in the $1 billion club. That doesn't mean Superman will be. I'm just saying, if you go over the top 5 of the most viewed trailers of all time in the first 24 hours, every single one of those movies are in the $1 billion club. I think that means Superman has a chance. Again, I'm not saying it will. I actually doubt that it will, to be clear. But I think you'd be sticking your head in the sand if you don't acknowledge it has a chance. So that's why I've got Superman at number 8. All right. We're getting a little bit more likely now. We keep going up the list. My number 7 most likely film in 2025 to join the $1 billion club. Fantastic Four: First Steps. Now, I think most people are going to be surprised, not about that it's on the list. I think most people are going to be surprised that I have it this low on the film, or this low on the list. But you got to remember, kind of like with DC, there have been 3 Fantastic Four movies, and they've all been terrible. You know what? The latest Fantastic Four movie they had, the one with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan, I remember, I've told this story before, but I remember like me and Christian Harloff went to the Fox lot to watch a special screening of it in advance. And everybody believed the movie was going to be terrible and suck. And I remember the first act of the movie happened, like the first 35 minutes or so into the movie, Christian and I are sitting beside each other and we turn to each other and like, this isn't bad. Like, we all expected it to be completely terrible, but like 30 minutes into the movie, we're like, this actually isn't all that bad. This is all right. This has got some promise. And then the next hour and 10 minutes happened and the film went right to crap and it became terrible. But that's the point, is that the audience has been subjected to 3, if you want to count Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, which we shouldn't, but if you did, 4 movies. But in major theaters, we've been subjected to 3 Fantastic Four movies in the last bunch of years, and they've all been terrible. They've all been terrible. And now we got another Fantastic Four movie coming. I think it'll do well. And I'm super excited about it. You got the guy who did WandaVision is directing this movie. I'm very excited about that. They've got a terrific cast. I'm excited about it. I think the movie's going to be great. I wouldn't put money on it making $1 billion though. Maybe Fantastic Four 2 can make $1 billion, but like Superman, it's got a little bit of work to do. It's got a little bit of work to do re-winning over the audience and getting them on board that, hey, there can be a Fantastic Four movie and hey, it cannot suck. So again, would I put money on it making $1 billion? No, I wouldn't. But I think you got to acknowledge it has a chance. It is a highly anticipated thing, especially amongst Marvel fans. You got a superstar cast in this now. It's just peppered with award winners in the cast now. So I think you got to acknowledge it. I think it has a better chance than Superman and Captain America and Thunderbolts. So I got it as my number 7 most likely to get there. So we'll see. All right. Now we're getting more likely to get there. My number 6 most likely film of 2025 to hit that $1 billion mark is going to be Lilo and Stitch, the live action thing. Listen. If Moana taught us anything, if Inside Out 2 taught us anything, do not underestimate a beloved animated Disney property returning to the big screens potential for making big money at the box office. Now, granted, this is a live action Lilo and Stitch. It's not animated. But here's the thing. Lilo and Stitch is old enough that it's going to have that thing where, look at this guy. Look at this fuzzy little guy. You're telling me kids ain't going to look at that and be begging their parents to go to the theaters? They will be. But on top of all that, this movie, the original movie, is old enough now that everybody who grew up loving this film has kids of their own now. An automatic lock for the $1 billion club? No. But I think you are certifiably crazy if you don't think this at least has a chance. Again, I wouldn't put $100 saying that this will make $1 billion. I wouldn't do that either. But if you were to say it has no chance of making $1 billion, I think you're crazy. This thing's got a shot. I'd say close to a 50% shot. Maybe 45. I'll go 45% chance that Lilo and Stitch does it. But again, even if it wasn't for the original animated one, and they just had a live action thing coming out with this little fricker. Yeah, I said fricker. With this little fucker, you don't think, even if there wasn't an original, that something as adorable as this little fucker wouldn't get a lot of kids begging their parents to take the theater? I think you're nuts. You had on top of that, everybody grew up with this movie, now have kids of their own. They're all going to want to see it. This thing's going to make big money. Maybe not $1 billion, but this blue fuzzball is going to make a lot of money. Bank on that. Lilo and Stitch is going to make a lot of money. Maybe $1 billion, maybe not. But it will 100% make a ton of money, and it'll definitely be within shot of $1 billion. It'll be within shot. So that's where I got Lilo and Stitch, the live action one, coming up at number 6. All right. Now we're getting into the films that I would start taking more seriously that, don't be shocked if this one makes $1 billion. At number 5, most likely film on my list to join the $1 billion club, Wicked 2. Now, Wicked 1 at the moment, first one out, is already crossed. It's approaching now. After today, it'll be over $650 million. This was a movie that I had a ton of my own viewers telling me, no one's going to watch Wicked. Nobody cares about Wicked. It's not going to make any money. $650 million later, and this is just the first film. I think the second film will be significantly bigger. I think especially when you consider this movie is going to get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. Just take that to the bank right now. Wicked is going to get nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars. No doubt, no questions asked. It's going to get a lot of nominations. So you combine the overwhelming popularity of this movie right now. People are loving it. You add on to that a whole bunch of awards buzz, and as soon as it wins some Oscars and gets nominated for Best Picture, they start rolling out, a little bit of an advanced marketing campaign for Wicked 2. It's going to make a lot of money, guys. It's going to make a lot of money, whether you believe it or not anymore. I mean, the debate is over about whether Wicked can make a ton of money. It's made a ton of money. Done. That discussion's now over. I think the second one has definitely a shot at $1 billion. Now, listen, last year, when the first Wicked was coming out, I said, I think Wicked 1 has a shot at $1 billion. And the fact that it's already made over $600 million is a testament to that. But guaranteed $1 billion for 2025? No. But I think this is one of the strongest contenders of the year. One of the strongest contenders of the year, 2025, for joining that illustrious and exclusive $1 billion club. I think this will be pretty big on that, especially when you look at the popularity, how many people are going back to see it again and again. And even I am not the target demographic for this movie. I've never gone to see the stage play. I have no intention of ever going to see the stage play. And I loved this film. And this film is not my normal cup of tea, and even I loved it. It's great. It's going to get nominated for Best Picture. It's got to be considered one of the top contenders for joining the $1 billion club this coming year. All right. Let's now get in. These next 4 films on the list are ones that I will say I would bet will be in the $1 billion. These movies won't just be big. These next 4 movies are the ones that I think are. I'll be shocked. I won't be shocked, for example, if Lilo and Stitch doesn't make $1 billion. I'd be shocked if it isn't a huge hit. But I mean, I won't be shocked if Wicked doesn't hit $1 billion. I won't be shocked if Lilo and Stitch doesn't make $1 billion. I won't be shocked if Fantastic Four. But these next 4 films, these are the ones I would be shocked if they don't make $1 billion. All right. Again, not a guarantee, but my number 4 most likely film to hit $1 billion, and this is one that I'll actually be surprised if it doesn't. Zootopia 2. Now listen, I say this as a guy that I actually don't like the first Zootopia as much as most people do. Don't misinterpret me. I liked the first Zootopia. I did. I enjoyed it. I think it's a thumbs up movie. I thought it was really quite charming. But there are so many people love Zootopia. Love it. I'm always surprised whenever it comes up about how much people love that film. I don't think it's that great. I mean, I like it. I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel. But when you look at the hype behind the first one, and by the way, if I go over right now, I don't think I know how much did the first one make. It made a lot of money. Zootopia, the first Zootopia, it by itself joined the $1 billion club. The first Zootopia made $1 billion. I knew it made a lot. Zootopia 1 made $1 billion. Is anybody out there willing to put a lot of money that Zootopia 2 won't do that? I think it's one of those movies that's only gotten more popular since it came out. I just think people are going to be flocking to the theaters to see this thing. I think this movie will make more money than Moana 2. And Moana 2 is going to join the $1 billion club. And I think Zootopia is going to exceed it. I really do. And again, I'm not saying that as some big fanboy of Zootopia by any stretch of the imagination. It's a movie that I thought was really nice, especially the sloth. The sloth killed me. But I mean, I liked it. You know, what was it? Hops. And what was the name of... Jason Bateman was the voice of the fox, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. What was the name of the fox, guys, in the live chat? Let me know who the name of the fox was. But like, I thought they were all charming and really nice. And they're saying the name of the fox was Nick. Okay. But again, I'm not some Zootopia fanboy. But man, I would not put money at all remotely betting that this movie does not join the $1 billion club. I think Zootopia 2 will. All the other films we've had on the list so far, these are all films that I think have a good shot, or have an outside shot at least. They have a chance of getting there. But Zootopia 2 to me doesn't just have a chance. I'm going to be surprised if it doesn't. So I'm going to put Zootopia 2 at the number 4 most likely. All right. Now let's get into the top 3. My number 3 most likely film of 2025 to join the $1 billion club is Jurassic World Rebirth. Now look. I get it. I do. John, I don't even like Jurassic World anymore. I get it. I didn't like the last one either. But you know what the Jurassic movies do, especially lately? They make $1 billion. Even the last one made over $1 billion. Can you imagine now with a brand new director, brand new cast, making a much better film, hopefully, than what the last one was? You get now put a new Jurassic World with a better movie? I am absolutely going to be shocked if it doesn't make $1 billion. It's going to make $1 billion. I get it, John, but we didn't even like that. I know. Stop yelling at me. I know. But it's going to make $1 billion. I wouldn't put the ironclad lock guarantee on it making $1 billion. I'm just saying I'll be surprised if it doesn't make $1 billion. Just because even the bad ones have made $1 billion. And people love seeing other people getting eaten by dinosaurs. It's right up there amongst life certainties, as people will climb over their own mothers at a sporting event to get one of those free t-shirts that get shot out of an air cannon. I've seen it. They will gouge the eyes out of their own mothers to get that t-shirt for whatever reason. But that is a truth in life. And people love seeing other people getting eaten by dinosaurs is another truth in life. It's just another truth in life. It will most likely make $1 billion. And yeah, I know number three seems like a high position to have it on the list. I get it. It is a high position on the list, but I actually would be more surprised if this movie didn't make $1 billion than I would be if Zootopia 2 didn't make $1 billion. So yeah, I've got it that high on the list. Number 3 for me is Jurassic World Rebirth. All right. Let's get on to the second most likely movie. And I'm going to tell you right now, these final 2 are the ones that I will say are guaranteed locks. Unless the movies end up being totally terrible, which is not something we can foresee right now. If the movies end up being totally terrible, that will change things. But for right now, these 2 movies I think are absolute, complete locks to make $1 billion. Number 2, Michael. Michael Jackson is the consensus, beyond a shadow of a doubt, maybe the biggest pop star of all time. And that's what he was, the king of pop. The interest surrounding Michael Jackson is as vivid and alive today. You don't have to like Michael Jackson, but the interest around Michael Jackson today is still incredibly palpable. And then they showed us a little bit of a preview for it at CinemaCon. in April, like all the way back in April, they showed us a bit of a preview for Michael. And I just remember saying, yeah, everybody's going to go see this. People who love Michael Jackson, people who hate Michael Jackson, everybody is, and don't underestimate the power and popularity of Michael Jackson, not only in America, but around the world. And of course, the story of his death and all that kind of stuff. I absolutely have no doubt. Again, the movie might end up being terrible and that might hurt it. Maybe it doesn't make $1 billion. But aside from that, I have no doubt that Michael is going to be $1 billion film. As a matter of fact, let me look this up. Bohemian Rhapsody. If you look up Bohemian Rhapsody, like Bohemian Rhapsody, which I thought was really good. Hold on a second, I'm having a problem here. Bohemian Rhapsody. There we go. Okay, so if you look at Bohemian Rhapsody, box office, forgot to put that in. It made over $900 million. $900 million for a musical biopic. Michael Jackson, there are some people who will disagree with this, and that's fine. You can disagree if you want. Michael Jackson is bigger than Queen. I'm not saying Michael Jackson is better than Queen. I'm saying Michael Jackson is bigger than Queen. If Bohemian Rhapsody can make $910 million, Michael can make $1 billion. It will make $1 billion. It will make $1 billion. Now, again, this is all with the caveat of we don't know how good or bad the film is. That's going to have a big determining factor. If it totally sucks and it's awful, then it doesn't make $1 billion. But I mean, just all other things being equal right now, to me, Michael Jackson, other than one other film, which we will get to in a second, a Michael film is going to be the front runner to be $1 billion film in 2025. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. So now, will the movie deliver? Well, that's always the $1 billion question, isn't it? But it's got to be right up there. So to recap, before we get into number 1, number 10, most likely, much down further, granted, but so 10th most likely is Thunderbolts, 9th most likely Captain America, 8th most likely Superman, 7th most likely Fantastic Four: First Steps, 6th most likely Lilo and Stitch, 5th most likely Wicked, 4th most likely Zootopia 2, 3rd most likely Jurassic World Rebirth, and the 2nd most likely Michael. And that leads us to what I believe is the most ironclad, guaranteed, this film is making $1 billion. It's a film that people have been waiting for a long time. It's another remake of a classic animated film. It's a story that we've been told since we were children and little kids, and the iterations and the classic animation and all that kind of stuff. I grew up with it. Our parents grew up with it. You grew up with it. Grandparents knew it. The new live action installment of Snow White. Snow White is, I know there's a lot of people who are doubting on Snow White right now, but I am telling you, if you don't understand the appeal of the original mythology of it, of the fairy tale-ness of it, and all that kind of stuff, you simply don't understand movies. And if you thought I was serious for even a second, get your head checked. Obviously, the number 1 most likely $1 billion film is going to be Avatar: Fire and Ash. Come on. Of course it is. By the way, I am looking forward to Snow White. I actually think Snow White's going to be a good movie. I like the director. I think it's going to be a good movie, but it is not going to be $1 billion film. Okay. So again, no disrespect on Snow White. I think it's going to be a good movie. I'm looking forward to seeing it, but it ain't making $1 billion. Obviously it's Avatar: Fire and Ash. And I've seen some people live chat saying, well, I don't like Avatar. It doesn't matter if you like Avatar. It doesn't matter if I like Avatar. These movies have made like nearly over $5 billion. Think about that for a minute. These movies have made like almost $5 billion just from 2 of them. You don't think? Anybody out there not think that Avatar, Fire and Ash, Avatar 3 isn't going to make $1 billion? You are certifiably crazy. Like, listen, that Michael most likely to make $1 billion, but this could happen, that could happen. Jurassic World absolutely will make $1 billion, but there's a chance it doesn't. No. With Avatar, you are certifiably insane if you don't think Avatar 3 makes $1 billion. The first Avatar made basically $3 billion, and then Avatar: The Way of Water came out and made $2.3 billion. Like, these movies combined, they made over $5 billion between two films. How on earth could anybody with a straight face even think for a moment that Avatar, Fire and Ash won't make $1 billion? The other two are averaging like 2.6 billion. Avatar, Fire and Ash is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the most locked of locked films of 2025 that are going to join the $1 billion club. It's not even a question. It absolutely will. No doubt. And you know what? I've got no gripes with it. I mean, look, let's be honest here. The Avatar films are not my favorite films of all time. All right? They're not. That's fine. But they're really good. They're really good. I might have even liked Avatar 2 more than Avatar 1. I mean, I don't think Avatar 1 should have won Best Picture at the Academy Awards or anything, but I had no problem with it being nominated for Best Picture. And I thought Avatar 2 was even better. Could have been a little bit shorter, but I thought it was an incredibly fun movie, an incredibly good movie. And all that aside, this thing could make $1 billion on its opening weekend. It won't. I'm just saying, there's so much interest in this. So many people are going to be seeing it. There's just no doubt. You don't have to be a fan of the franchise to acknowledge reality. This movie is joining the $1 billion club. Now, whether it'll join, see, to me, the only question is not whether or not Avatar 3 joins the $1 billion club. That's not even a question. Okay. That's just dumb. Not even a question. The question is, does Avatar 3 join the $2 billion club? That's the question. Because I could be wrong, but I think there's only 3 films. I think there's only 3 films all time that have joined, that are in the are in the $2 billion club. At least I think. I think it's Avengers Endgame. I think it's Avatar 1 and 2. I'm just bringing it up here. Oh, no, actually there's 5. No, there's 6. I stand corrected, guys. There's 6. So the 6 films in the $2 billion club are Avengers Infinity War, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, Titanic, Avatar: The Way of Water, Avengers Endgame, and the first Avatar. Again, it's crazy. 3 of the top 4 films, all-time grossing movies ever in history, 3 of the top 4 belong to one guy, James Cameron. Avatar: The Way of Water, and Titanic. The only other film in that top 4 list is Avengers Endgame. But yeah, so 6 films have joined the $2 billion club. So again, I don't think the question is, does it join a $1 billion club? The question is, does it join the $2 billion club? That's the only question on the list. I think it has a shot, but $2 billion is a lot of money. The only 6 films in history have ever done it. We'll have to wait and see. So, guys, that's my list. Again, honorable mention, like way outside shot, but worth keeping an eye on, I think, is F1 and Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Other than that, these are the films in order of potential that I think have a shot at $1 billion. All the way down at number 10 with Thunderbolts, all the way up to a guaranteed lock of Avatar, Fire and Ash. Do you guys have some films that you think maybe I missed, that maybe I should have on this list, that I've left off? Do you maybe think I have something on here that doesn't deserve to be on it? Here's the thing. Don't tell me to knock a film off this list unless you are going to give me a film to put in its place. That's important. Don't tell me, no, Lilo and Stitch shouldn't be on the list. Don't tell me that unless you got a film that you think has a better chance of making $1 billion than that one. Then let me know. All right. So guys, with that all down, It's time for us to get the most important part of our show, which is taking your live comments and questions. But before we do, we're going to take a quick minute and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast, our friends at PrizePicks and Miracle Made. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. Are you guys like me, both a movie and a sports fan? Well, if so, then you know that the playoffs are here and it's now or never. If you love football and want to add some real excitement to the games, let me tell you about PrizePicks, the best place for your daily fantasy sports. So here's how it works. It's super simple. You just pick more or less on player projections. Think Patrick Mahomes will throw more than 1.5 touchdowns this week, or maybe Lamar Jackson will get over 250 passing yards. Make your picks in less than a minute and take your shot at winning up to 1,000 times your cash. Ann and I have been having a blast using PrizePicks every weekend. It's simple, it's fun, and it just makes watching the games that much more exciting. Plus, PrizePicks puts you first. With easy, fast, secure withdrawals, you can get your winnings in as little as 15 minutes, and they make deposits even easier. And right now, if you sign up today, you get $50 instantly when you play just $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So don't wait. Download the app today and use the code CAMPEA to get $50 instantly after playing your first $5 lineup. That's right, play for just $5 and you get a $50 bonus instantly. PrizePicks, run your game. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's episode, Miracle Made. Guys, it's hot outside and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. So if you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA and use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. There are just so many things that make these sheets so fantastic. We already mentioned the self-cooling properties for better quality sleep, but they're also self-cleaning. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. No more gross odors. So go to trymiracle.com/Campea. That's TRYMIRACLE.com/Campea to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code Campea at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/Campea and use the code Campea to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Campea to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks and Miracle Made for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show podcast. All right, guys, with that all down on this New Year's Day, let's get over to the most important stuff, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions, shall we? We're going to get things started off here with, if I can get this lined up properly, which I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Hopefully I will. Give me a second here. Oh yeah, we're lined up properly. We're going to start off with Mark W., who just sent in a super chat badge to be supportive. Thank you, Mark W. Appreciate that. Dr. Stinky wrote, we got a new Zootopia poster. Did they drop a new, like, while we were doing the show, have they dropped, guys in the live chat, have they put out a brand new Zootopia poster? Or is Dr. Stinky saying he actually went out and bought a Zootopia poster? I'm not sure. I'll look for you guys in the live chat. Dr. Stinky's saying, yes, they put out a new poster. Oh, it was yesterday. Last night, people are saying on New Year's Eve, they put out a new, I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to go check it out. We'll talk about it maybe tomorrow on the show. Oh, by the way, guys, gonna let you know, I saw some people in the live chat saying, hey, how come you're not talking about last night's episode of Skeleton Crew? The reason I'm not talking about Skeleton Crew in last night's episode right now is that the episode came out on New Year's Eve. So even though I've seen it already, I think there's probably a chance that a lot of people haven't watched it yet just because it came out on New Year's Eve. So we're going to talk about the new episode of Skeleton Crew tomorrow. So that's when we're going to talk about episode 6 of Skeleton Crew tomorrow. Spoiler alert, I loved it, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. All right. Next up, we've got Screen Speak writes, hey, John, this is the 4th year of watching you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. Would love to meet you as well as other movie YouTubers someday. You make my life even better. Oh, thanks so much, man. I appreciate that. You know, a couple of things that I always pop up at, and I'll kind of mention where we might be. Is if you're going to be in Las Vegas, we're going to be at CinemaCon come April. The beginning of April is the new CinemaCon, where I believe they are going to show us Thunderbolts. I think we're going to get a full screening of Superman. Nobody's told me that. I'm just guessing. But anyway, I'm probably going to be there, and I always pop up for at least a day at Comic-Con in San Diego. So I'll let you guys know where I'll be, and maybe we'll have a chance to have a quick meet and greet. Anyway, thanks for that, man. Appreciate it. Next up, we've got Blue Flame Studios, who writes, Happy New Year, John, and Happy New Year to you. When do you think we will get Wicked for good teaser trailer? That's, I don't think for what, when, help me out, guys, in the live chat. When is the release date for Wicked 2? I'll keep an eye on the live chat. I know there's like a 10-second delay, but if you guys know when the Wicked 2 release date is, throw it in there. I generally don't normally think it's a good idea. November 21st. Okay. Maybe March or April, probably get a first one. Again, that's even earlier than they should, but I think they'll want to take advantage of some of the Oscar momentum it's going to get in February. So maybe March or April we'll get a first look at that. That's going to be my guess. Again, I still think that's too early, but again, taking advantage of the Oscar momentum is they'll probably will. All right. Thanks for that, Blue Flame. Cool Guy writes, first time doing a super chat. Thank you for sending in a super chat. Cool Guy. Appreciate that, man. Hola. What's your opinion on having Daredevil being the new heart and face of the MCU? I love the show. 0% chance. 0% chance. Because listen, as popular as he was on Netflix and all that kind of stuff, he's not the new face of the MCU. He's just not. He was barely able to be the face of the Defenders. And don't get me wrong, I love Charlie Cox and I love Daredevil. Like, I love this show. But absolutely, he's not the kind of character that becomes the face, heart, and soul of the MCU. It just won't be. But that still leaves a big question about who is. Like, maybe if Chris Evans comes back, maybe if, I don't know, but I don't think it's Daredevil. I think Daredevil's going to have a real place in the MCU, but being the new face of the MCU, no, I don't see that happening. He's a great character, but I don't see that happening. Anyway, thanks for writing in your first question, Cool Guy. Appreciate that, man. Next up, Carnal Mullis writes, we are finally in the year of Superman. Yes, we are. That teaser made me tear up, and I'm a grown-ass man, and I'm hopeful for 750 to 800 million at the box office, but that's probably a bit optimistic. Maybe yes, but again, we now know that there's a lot of eyes on it. Again, becoming the 5th biggest trailer drop in history. Every other film in the top 5 has joined the $1 billion club. That tells us there's a lot of interest. But we'll see what happens when we get our more fleshed out trailers, like when we get trailer 2, as we get closer to the movie. And then most importantly, is the movie good? I have all the faith in the world in James Gunn. But even Steven Spielberg, the greatest filmmaker of all time, has a bad day at the office now and again, every 10 or 20 years. Maybe Superman will be James Gunn's bad day at the office. We don't know, but we'll see. But listen, I'm hopeful that the movie is great. If the movie is great, the box office will follow. That's fine. I'm just more hopeful that the movie is great so that not just that this movie can be successful, but that future DCU movies will be successful. That's the big picture. A lot of people think micro. A lot of people think very small picture. Oh, this one movie has to do well. These are smart people. They're not thinking small, tiny picture. They're thinking big picture. They're thinking not how much money does this one movie make. They're thinking how much money does the next 10 films make. But for that to be relevant at all, the movie's got to be great. And that's what I'm hoping for, man. All right. Next up, Jerome writes, Jerome writes, do you think John Dutton still would have died at the end of Yellowstone if Kevin Costner didn't leave? No, I don't think so. I think it would have had a completely different ending. Again, it's always sad when behind the scenes, off camera drama has to affect the on camera product. And it is really a shame. I mean, I love Yellowstone. I've loved that show. And it is really a shame that Kevin Costner and Taylor Sheridan had the differences that they did. I'm not going to say who I blame. It's just that but it's just unfortunate that it came to that. And I'm perfectly good with the final season, to be honest with you. But no, I don't think at all that John Dutton dies at the end. Actually, I don't even think this is the last season if Kevin Costner hadn't left. But Kevin Costner leaving kind of put them in a position where they had to end the show. All right. Thanks for that, Jerome. Next up, Dakota R. writes, apart from Jurassic World, my most anticipated movie this year has to be Mortal Kombat 2. How well do you love the Mortal Kombat IP? Where's your enthusiasm? I have very little enthusiasm. Listen, I grew up with that original Mortal Kombat movie with one of the best soundtracks in movie history. The soundtrack to Mortal Kombat 1 was amazing. Every track was banger after banger. Juke Joint Jezebel, one of my favorite songs in the movie ever. Anyway. Be mine, sister salvation. Anyway. Where was I? Oh, yes. I didn't love the most recent Mortal Kombat movie at all. It had its moments, right? Had its moments. And hopefully this next one will be good, but I'd be lying to you if I said I was super enthusiastic about it. As of right now, I'm not. A great new trailer can maybe change me a little bit, but right now I'm not super excited about it. All right. Thanks for that, Dakota. Next up, we've got Riley Berry, who writes, Sup G-Spot is a little shrinking reference for you. My wife and I are going to Vegas in a couple of weeks. Nice. Any recommendations for fun things to do and places to eat? Vegas, Ann and I just got back from Vegas. We go about 6-7 times a year. Vegas is such a great place because it's not, I like playing poker and everything, but it's the greatest restaurants to eat at, the greatest shows, but there's also just a lot of great things to do. And like, for instance, this week we went to Vegas and we went to one of the big outdoor shopping plazas they have. And it's a Tiger Woods mini golf and restaurant spot. I think it's called Top Shot. Or any of you guys know the name of the Tiger Woods mini golf place? Anyway, where it's like for 30 or 40 bucks, you get all day mini golf. You can play all you want. They have 2 courses. They have restaurants and drinks and stuff like that. It's just a great thing to go to. You got the pinball arcade. It's not Top Golf, Joe. Top Golf is something totally. Pop Stroke. Thank you, Tyler. The name of the place is Pop Stroke. A lot of fun. They have, the indoor aquariums. Look, there's a million things to do in Vegas. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a great city. The restaurants, again, the ones I like to refer to are Gordon Ramsay's Steak in the Paris Hotel. For some more casual food, another Gordon Ramsay restaurant called Gordon Ramsay Burger that's in Planet Hollywood. I love Nellie's Southern Kitchen that is in MGM. It's actually owned by the Jonas Brothers, but it's a marvelous restaurant. And my favorite restaurant in Vegas, I just found out this morning, is closing in a little over 2 weeks. International Smoke in MGM, owned by Steph Curry's wife, Aisha Curry. It's mine and Ann's favorite restaurant in Vegas, and we just found out this morning it is closing down on January 19th. Yeah. So anyway, you're going to have a great time. Vegas is a wonderful, wonderful place to go hang out. All right. Thanks for that, Riley. Next up, Connor Mullis writes, 2025 described by Deadpool the Wise. Get your special socks out, nerds. There's some, listen, and that list that I pulled up there, that list doesn't even represent, at least to me, my most anticipated films of the year. Like this isn't even my most anticipated. Now, definitely some of these films are on my most anticipated. Thunderbolts, Avatar, Superman. Like there are a number of these, actually Wicked 2. There are a number of these, but this isn't even my most anticipated list. Tomorrow we'll do my most anticipated. But like 2025 has got some just killer lineups, man. Very excited. I mean, one of the sucky things about the strikes was that it pushed a lot of films out of 2024. But now that we're in 2025, we're going to get to reap the benefits of that. So we'll see how it all turns out. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up, we've got Blackberry, who writes, Happy New Year's to the John Campea Show crew and all. Love being part of this community. Oh, thank you so much, man. That's incredibly nice of you to write in. Happy New Year to you. May we all have a prosperous, wonderful, healthy, and peaceful New Year in front of us. And starting off with a bang already. All right. Next up, we've got Mega Red 555 who writes, Feige lets you add one story beat of your choice to Secret Wars, from comic or original. What would you pick? Maybe a Hulk Redemption X-Men intro? I wouldn't use Secret Wars or any of that stuff. There's so much for them to do just in the story alone. I wouldn't be throwing a lot of things at it, like an X-Men intro. I honestly think we're going to be getting X-Men intros. We're already starting to mildly get X-Men intros. I would work out X-Men intro before we get to Secret War, because that's still a couple of years off. If they could somehow find a way to rehabilitate the image of Hulk and get Hulk back to what he's supposed to be, then maybe start dropping some seeds that could lead to a World War Hulk at some point. I don't know how you do it. We've been talking about it for the last couple of days, but if they could do that, that's the one thing I would plead. That's the thing I would plead with Kevin Feige for and about. Anyway. All right. Next up, we got Dino Vader, who writes, It's going to be a sad year for me because I know I'm going to lose John on YouTube this year. Thanks for all your great posts over the 10 years that I followed. You followed for 10 years, dude. Thank you so much for that. Look, let me just say this right now. I am not going to discuss when I'm going to retire anymore. When it does come time for me to retire, there's not going to be a farewell tour. There's not going to be a final countdown of these are the last 20 shows. I am literally going to do a show and then at the end of the show go, by the way, guys, today was my last episode. That's the way I've decided to do it. Now, that being said, let's not worry about it. Let's not worry about it. We're only at the beginning of 2025. We got a lot of shows to do, guys. A lot of shows. Maybe more than you think. But so I won't be addressing. Let's talk about retirement when it's time to talk about retirement. Let's do that. Like right now is not the time. Let's not worry about it while we're still in it. Shall we? So let's look forward to this incredible lineup of films that we have this year and be excited about that. Anyway, thanks for that, man. I appreciate it. All right, next up, we got Ron H. who writes, I got Space Marine 2 for Christmas and enjoyed playing it. Now I'm more excited for Cavill's Warhammer project for the Emperor. Happy New Year. I remember my buddy Rodney Brazeau. Some of you guys may remember him. He used to do the movie blog with me ages and ages and ages ago. And he was like one of the first hosts of Jedi Council. And like way back in the day, I think it was me and Christian, my buddy Paul Enns, who was like an exec at Lucasfilm, and my buddy Rodney Brazeau, who is the only guy in the world who's as big of a Star Wars fan as me. And Rodney is actually my buddy who introduced me to Warhammer. Now, I never got heavy into Warhammer because it's a very involved game. I mean, you got to buy all the figures and the hardcore guys paint all their individual figures. But I played Warhammer a bunch of times and it's really fun. It's a fun game if you invest all the stuff into it. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. I really, really am. All right. Next up, that was Ron H. We've got Mitch who writes, I personally believe Andy Muschietti having a crack at a brand new Batman that isn't tied to previous works, DCEU and earlier, is worth some hype. I agree. I think Andy Muschietti is a really good director. Now, that being said, I know it is for whatever reason, it's the popular thing to hate on the Flash movie. I don't care what anybody says. I thought that Flash movie was great. Like whatever that clown Ezra Miller did off camera and all that kind of stuff, and whatever about some of the questionable CGI, and there was definitely some questionable CGI, no doubt about it. I don't care what anybody says. That was a fun, entertaining little comic book film. I thought Michael Keaton in it was great. I thought the dialogue, I thought it was funny. Was it the tightest story in the world? No. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good, entertaining film. Greatest comic book movie of all time? No. By the way, there's a Mandela effect going around out there. I get this all the time. James Gunn said The Flash was the greatest comic book movie of all time. No, he didn't. Somebody else did. James Gunn didn't. James Gunn just said he really loved the film. I do too. But anyway, I thought Andy Muschietti did a really good job making that film. I thought he did a great job. So when they announced that he was going to do Batman Brave and the Bold and also his other filmography, I got really excited. I think he's a good choice for it. I think he'll do a great job with it. So anyway, that's just me. All right. Let's see here. John K writes, over under 25% DCU Batman debuts and Clayface 0%. Absolute 0% that happens. All right. Dwayne writes, hey, John, wanted to ask, since it's been a while, did you finish the second part of Invincible Season 2? I did. In my opinion, it was a major improvement from the first half of Season 2, not as good as Season 1, fun cameos. I agree to a certain extent. Like, I loved Invincible Season 1, okay? Absolutely loved Invincible Season 1. Season 2 was okay. It was okay. I do think the second half of Season 2 was better than the first half of Season 2, but I also think marginally. I think it was marginally better. I still thought the season overall was a significant step down from... Again, I didn't think it was horrible. I thought it was okay. I just thought it was a real step down from Season 1. I thought the Season 1 was absolutely fantastic. Season 2 was okay. Listen, it was such a step down. I'm not really excited for Season 3, to be honest. I'll definitely give it a shot. I'll definitely tune in and watch it. I'm just saying I'm really not nearly as excited for Season 3 as I was for Season 2. But again, that's just me. Let's see. Next up, we've got, what's up, y'all? I know this is a far off thing, but what about Andrew Lincoln, the main guy from Walking Dead? What, the guy who plays Rick for Joker in the DCU? Thanks a lot. I don't really care about X actor and X role stuff, to be honest with you. You guys know what I'm going to say. All I care about is that for whatever roles you get a good performer. Andrew Lincoln, I haven't seen him in a lot other than Walking Dead. I know he's really good in Walking Dead, but I don't know how good he is on or off. So, I mean, sure, if they announced tomorrow that Andrew Lincoln would be Joker, sure. Yeah, why not? I think he's a good actor. At least the limited roles I've seen him in. I've only really seen him in one role. So yeah, I'd be happy with it. It wouldn't be my first choice, but again, X actor and X role sort of thing. But from what I've seen, he's pretty good. So if they announced it, I'd be good. But I think there's probably about 15 or 20 other guys I would take in before him. But that's just me. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Brian Garcia, who writes, oh, by the way, did I mention that was Mama Loves Her Wine? Mama Loves Her Wine was the one who sent that in. Thank you so much for that. Brian Garcia writes, Happy New Year, John. Do you think the Red Hulk will present a new facet to Hulk's story that the MCU hasn't had a chance to explore yet, or perhaps even redeem the Hulk? Will that just be a one-off? I don't think we're going to get much of Hulk in here at all. Like, look, remember, Thunderbolt Ross has got a history with Hulk, right? Banner. I definitely think there will be references to Banner. I even think there's a small outside shot that Mark Ruffalo cameos in the movie, but I'm not expecting to see Hulk. I'm not expecting to see Mark Ruffalo's Hulk in it. I'm not really even expecting to see Mark Ruffalo at all in it, but I think there's a 5% chance maybe he cameos. But I really don't think this story is going to have anything to do with Banner's Hulk. And I think Leader doing something to transform Ross into Red Hulk, that'll be completely independent of anything going on with Hulk's storyline. So no, I really don't think we're going to get any Hulk story in this. Other than references to him, I really don't think this is going to do. I think this is Sam's movie. I think this is Ross's movie. I don't think this is going to be about Green Hulk at all. But again, you never know. You never know. Maybe it's possible. All right. Next up, we got Jerome, who writes, do you think Black Panther 3 will address the circumstances of Wakanda Forever, including Shuri becoming Black Panther? Well, you can't not. Right? It's not a reboot. They're not rebooting Black Panther, so you can't possibly do Black Panther 3 without acknowledging, and having story connections to Black Panther 2. So yeah, 100% they do, Jerome. All right, next up. John Lee writes, have you seen any of Squid Game Season 2 yet? Not a thing. Not a single frame of it. I thought about it last night because, like I said, Ann and I decided for the first time in maybe our entire marriage, we decided just to have a quiet evening at home because we just went to Vegas this past weekend. So we're kind of partied out. So we decided to spend a quiet evening home on New Year's Eve. That was good. And we definitely got caught up on watching. We watched a movie. We also got caught up on watching Skeleton Crew. I had a thought about maybe starting to watch Squid Game Season 2 last night, but I decided instead, as Anne and our two dogs all fell asleep on my lap collectively, I decided just to watch a bunch of YouTube videos before I went to bed. So I literally just kind of scrolled through YouTube for about an hour and a half before I went to bed. So no, I have not seen any of Squid Game Season 2 yet, but I will. All right. Next up, the Daily Prophet writes, hey guys, do you think we get Batman the Brave and the Bold before the Batman 2? Also, do you believe the Superman movie can be the best of all time? Well, I mean, any movie can be the best of all time. Any movie can. Sure it can. I could make a Superman movie and it could end up being the best of all time. The likelihood is low, but it could be. So yes, it could be. But whatever. But as far as your question about, do we think we get Brave and the Bold before the Batman 2? I don't know about that because it's coming out at 2027, right? Maybe. I mean, it really all depends on what else. We don't really know the exact timeline that James Gunn, we do know we were getting Superman, and then we do know we're getting Supergirl. And we got release dates for those. We got a release date for Clayface. We got, so when will this one come around? I'd say it's 50-50. My guess is that'll be 50-50. By the way, guys, I just realized I haven't turned off the super chats. So I'm going to turn off the super chats now, lest I end up being here way too long. Because Ann and I don't know if you can tell by what I'm wearing, we're going to the Kings game. We're going to the Kings versus the New Jersey Devils game after I'm done the show. They're playing an afternoon game. So I can't be here too long. Got to grab a quick bite to eat and go off to the Kings game. All right. Let's see. Next up, we've got Christopher Brickner, who writes, Sonic 3 is a good example of an adaptation. It made big changes to the story so it can work as a film, but remain true to the original story's heart. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? By the way, I don't know the story. I played a little Sonic when I was younger, but I don't know the lore of Sonic, anything like that. Really, I've got the movies. So I only judge the movies on the basis of the movies. That being said, the best way is, the best movie adaptations are not the one that follow the original source material beat for beat. Again, you look at, I bring these ones up all the time. Civil War is one of the greatest comic book movies ever. It's nothing like the original story. I mean, it kind of follows the spirit of the idea. The heroes are pitted against each other. Okay, I get that, but it's so totally different from the original comic. One of the other greatest comic book movies ever made, in my opinion, X-Men Days of Future Past. Yeah, the basic idea is there, but it's a totally different thing. It's a totally different thing than the original comic book story, completely different. So the point, I always say this and people get mad when I say it, but whatever, it's still true. And sometimes it's lonely being right. The number one job of a filmmaker is not to be as close as possible to the source material. The number one job of the filmmaker is to make the best movie possible. And that means having to adapt. And apparently Sonic 3 is a good example of that. Anyway, next up, let's see. It's Christopher Brickner again says, John, you didn't like The Strangers Chapter 1, but hilariously and sadly, it was one of Lionsgate's few financially successful films this year. Was it financially successful? Let me pull this up. I honestly don't know off the top of my head. The Strangers, let's see what the box office on that was. So The Strangers Chapter 1 ended up making $48 million. I don't know how much it cost to make. The Strangers Chapter 1 production budget. Let's see what it says. Wow, like $9 million. That's pretty good. I don't know that I'd say it's super successful, but it was profitable. It did end up being profitable. Oh, but man, that movie was so bad. Oh my God, The Strangers Chapter 1 was so bad. Anyway, Christopher goes on to write, Lionsgate had a rough year, but it ended the year with success as the best Christmas pageant ever, had a nice return of $40 million on a $10 million budget. Yeah, again, but Lionsgate needs more than that. Because remember, they spent about $10 million to market it. So that brings the budget up to $20 million. It made about $40 million, but then you've got to deduct about a third of that for the theaters keeping it, right? So now you're down to about, I don't know, what are you down to now about that? It made like 28 million, 27 anyway. So that's still profitable, but it's it's a razor thin margin profitable. So yeah, I wouldn't call it a big success by any stretch of the imagination, but there you go. All right. Next up, Walter Whitewalker writes, don't sleep on How to Train Your Dragon. You know what? I'm not sleeping How to Train Your Dragon. I do not think that's going to be $1 billion film. Like I would bet money that it won't be $1 billion film, but I do believe it's going to be a hit, right? It might even make more money than some of the films I have on my list. But even though I think How to Train Your Dragon could end up making more money than a number of the films on my list, I still think those films have a shot at exploding beyond their potential. I don't think How to Train Your Dragon gets to $1 billion, but I do think it can make a lot of money. Let's see. I got to reset. Hold a second. I lost a bunch of the questions here. So just give me a moment as I reset the chats and I get caught up. Hold a second. So where do we leave off? We left off with... Okay, there we go. We're picking things up here with Jerome, who writes, did you ever notice that overall, there are not many female superhero movies, and Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, and Wakanda Forever are the only hits? Well, I mean, part of the reason for that is, number one, when you go back to the original comic stuff, I mean, most of the original comic source material are male-led heroes, right? And that's what they're drawing from. Like, even when you go to DC, like your big DC heroes are Superman, Batman, Aquaman, stuff like that, and Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman's in there. You go onto the Marvel side, the big traditional ones they have are all the male-led ones. So when you're drawing from that, it makes sense that you got Captain Marvel, Wonder Woman, Wakanda Forever, all that kind of stuff. By the way, I didn't like Wakanda Forever all that much. Anyway. So... And also you got to remember, like Hollywood executive Stan Lee talked about this, that we're now in an era now where they're developing more characters and giving us more. And those movies prove that if you have a good female-led superhero movie, like the first Wonder Woman, you can make $800 million. If you make, and just like male-led superhero movies, if you make a bad one like Wonder Woman 1984, it won't make money. So yeah, it's all about the tradition of the source material that it came from. And now that they've gotten to the point that they're at, they're going to start to expand beyond that. All right. Next, we've got Christopher Brickner writes, Lionsgate had a bad year when their global financial high point this year might have been The Strangers Chapter 1. Yeah, listen, I love Lionsgate. I have a special place in my heart for Lionsgate. I think they're a terrific studio. They had a bad year. There's no getting around that. They had a bad year. There's no way to spin it. There's no way to do whatever. Bad year. But you know what? I still have all the faith in the world about Lionsgate. I have all the faith in the world in their ability to navigate their way out of this. So yeah, 100%. All right. Next up, we got Abe, who writes, I'm so ready for the Avatar haters to say it's a failure. It doesn't make $2 billion. Yeah. I still remember when the first Avatar came out and its opening weekend. Now, and everybody forgets Avatar, the biggest film in history. It didn't make $100 million its opening weekend. Do you guys remember that? Avatar, the biggest film of all time, did not crack $100 million in its opening weekend. So Avatar 2 comes out and it doesn't have like a monstrous opening weekend, just like Avatar 1 didn't. It didn't have a monstrous opening weekend. And all these people, I remember I made a video about this and I brought up all the YouTube stream, all these people making all these YouTube videos with pictures of the Avatar characters with big eyes, with tears coming out of them and saying flop and bomb and, woke Avatar flopping and bombing at the box office and all this kind of stuff. It went on to become one of the biggest films in history, made well over $2 billion, blah, blah, blah. But yes, you're right. But listen, every film has its haters. You are a hater of some film. Everybody is. Everybody's a hater of some film that they actively cheer against or whatever, and Avatar has theirs. So yes, when Avatar comes out, it could make $1.8 billion, be in the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. And yes, you're right. There are going to be people that go, what a failure. What a failure Avatar 3 is. Couldn't even make $2 billion. Yeah, there will be that, 100%. But again, I mean, the same is true of Superman, right? Superman could come out. It can make $700 million, which is great by any metric. And there are going to be people who go, Superman fell on its face. Couldn't even make $1 billion. What a failure. It's going to happen. Same thing's going to happen with Wicked. Wicked 2 could make $750 million. And there are people who come out and proclaim that it's a failure and all that kind of stuff. Same is true as whatever, Lilo and Stitch. Same is true as Michael. Same is true. You're going to get that for almost every movie. You're going to get it for almost every movie. Not just Avatar. It'll same is true as everyone. All right. Let's see. Next up is Mega Red, who writes, there's always a surprise $1 billion film no one sees coming. True. Not always, but it definitely happens. Barbie or Inside Out 2, for example. I think Stitch can be it. It could be. With generational bonus. Yeah, listen, I think you're absolutely right, Mega Red, to point out that, look, who saw Barbie coming? Not many people. I think there was a bunch of people who thought Barbie could be a hit. 100%. There are definitely a lot of people who thought Barbie could be a hit. There weren't a lot of people who thought Barbie was going to be the #1 box office movie in the world. I don't think I certainly didn't. I don't think there were many people who did. Did people know Inside Out 2 was going to be big? Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody thought Inside Out 2 could be big. 100%. We all thought it'd be a big hit. Did anybody think it would make over $1.5 billion? Did anybody think it could make $1.5 billion? I don't know many people who did. So yes, there are those surprise ones. I think Lilo and Stitch has the potential to be that surprise. I think F1 has a potential to be that surprise. Again, I don't even have it on my list. But I mean, the global phenomena that F1 is, I don't know, maybe. Anyway, or it might not even be one of these movies on my list. It could end up being that the number one box office film of 2025 isn't even on my list. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for that, Mega Red. Next up, Christopher Brickner writes, compared to Madam Web and Craven, at least the Venom movies ended their film series with dignity. Well, I mean, it depends on who you ask. I mean, also remember Madam Web and Craven, they never thought they were ending their film franchises, right? So it's not like they had a say in how they ended their film franchises. Venom was successful enough that it was able to get to film 3 and they were able to say, okay, we're done. By the way, I love the Venom films, but I'm not a fan of Venom 3. Venom 3 has very quietly made over $475 million at the box office. Over $475 million at the box office. For a bad movie, that's not bad. And that's their lowest grossing. I love the first Venom. Like you guys who watch me regularly, you know this. I absolutely love the first Venom film. I think it's great. I enjoyed the second one. I thought the second one was fun, not as good as the first. I didn't enjoy the third one, but still, like the fact that these Venom films were insanely successful is a bit of an understatement. All right, next up. Elvis made $288 million at the box office, so I doubt the Michael Jackson biopic will make $1 billion based off of that. You're wrong. You're wrong. Elvis has nothing to do with it. Like, there are tons of people. Like, there's not a lot of people around today in the average movie-going audience who were in their adult lives when Elvis was big, right? Not a lot of the regular movie-going audience today was around when Elvis was big. There's a good chunk of the movie-going audience today that was around then when Michael Jackson was the biggest thing in the world. And his music still endures a lot today. So I do not think at all that your comparison to Elvis is remotely applicable here. I got to disagree with you on that. I don't think there's any applicable thing here. I think a more, because again, the impact of Michael Jackson today, then you add into that all the drama and all that kind of stuff. And listen, I loved the Elvis movie. I thought the Elvis movie was great. I had a really good time with it. But the approach of it, you could kind of tell it wasn't going to be that big of a movie. You could just tell from the approach of it and the way it was marketed, Michael is going to be huge. Really huge. There's no point in trying to compare it to Elvis any more than trying to compare it to Rocket Man, right? The Elton John pick that they did. There's no point in comparing it to that. It's going to be its own thing. It's going to be massive. And I will be stone cold shocked if Michael doesn't make $1 billion. Stone cold shocked. And maybe I will be shocked, but we'll find out. All right. Next up. Let's see here. Andy writes, 1 of 3. This isn't meant to be political, and I meant to ask this before he died, but would you like a biopic of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter? He built houses with Habitat for Humanity, which was truly more than his presidency is his true enduring legacy. In the 90s. In fact, he fell in his home and had an eye injury right after his 95th birthday and needed 14 stitches, and yet he still went back to building houses like a total badass. He lost his wife of 77 years in 2023 and only lived to be 100 so he can vote. I think because of that legacy, yes. Yeah. Like, Jimmy Carter lived the kind of life that I think is the type of life that we as people can look at and aspire to. And I'm not even talking about his presidency. I mean, his presidency was before my time. I'm talking about the example he set in life. of just being a good man, a good human being, and using the time he had to make life better for other people. That is something to aspire to. That's some Mr. Rogers shit right there. I'm not even talking about the politics of Jimmy Carter or anything like that. It's just that, a good man living a good life to try to make other people's lives better. What's better than that in life? And so because of that, yeah, I'd be interested. I'd be interested in seeing a biopic about him if somebody did it. Okay, let's see. Next up, we've got Andy who writes, next up is John. We got to that. Now we got to jump down to John Redcorn. John Redcorn writes, I don't think Brave and the Bold is happening in 2026. It may not. Between Lantern, Supergirl, Clayface, and maybe Creature Commandos 2, DC slate is full that year. I don't think Gunn wants to oversaturate the market. Yeah, and it all depends on when we get Creatures. But remember, you can take Creature Commandos out of that. They've got an animation division. That's something totally separate. And let's be honest, the people who are watching Creature Commandos is not the bigger movie going on. So I don't think that affects it too much. So, but I think maybe there's a 50-50 chance we're getting it in 2026. 50-50 chance. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 2027. I even think there's a 10% chance it may be 2028. But 50-50 chance that it's 2026, 50-50 chance it's 2027. All right, let's see. Next up, where are we at? We are at Jai CSC, who writes, favorites of 2024 movie, Furiosa, game, Final Fan. Okay, so movie, favorite movie is Furiosa. Favorite game, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Favorite TV show, Shogun. By this way, this year was really good for TV. A lot of great stuff. It was, Jai. This was a great year for television. Like between Shogun, House of the Dragon, Shrinking, just on and on. There's so many really, really good shows this year. It was fabulous. I didn't play a lot of video games this year. All the video gaming I did was just playing Baldur's Gate 3 again, which is, I think, my favorite video game of all time. So I kind of got stuck on that one. All right. Next up, we've got Jerome, who writes, do you think if John Dutton didn't die, he would have allowed Beth to kill Jamie? Well, here's the problem with that premise, Jerome. One of the main reasons, Beth always wanted to ruin Jamie, but she killed Jamie. She murdered Jamie because he arranged for the killing of John. If John didn't die, would John stop Beth from killing Jamie? Well, I don't know that I don't know that Beth kills Jamie if it wasn't for the fact that John was dead. So you see the logic problem there? She murdered Jamie because Jamie had John killed. If John wasn't killed, would he have stopped Beth from killing Jamie? I don't think Beth murders Jamie. I think she still tries to ruin his life, but I don't think she would even murder him were it not for the fact that she killed John in the first place. So that's the thing you got to take in consideration. All right, next up, Max Winthrop writes, let's see here. Hey, John, been a big fan since I was in middle school. I'm 24 now. Thank you so much. What movies have the potential to be the biggest flops of 2025? I predict Minecraft. I would have to sit down and actually go through the list. I don't have a list in my head of every movie coming out in 2025. I'd have to actually sit down and work out a list. Minecraft is definitely a movie I can see flopping. But John, so many people love Minecraft. I get it. But do the people who love Minecraft think that Minecraft trailer was good? Because remember, Dragon Ball was a super popular thing. And when the Dragon Ball movie came out, it totally flopped because everybody thought it looked bad. So is that what's going to happen here? So look, I cannot say definitively because I need to make a list, but I do agree with you that I definitely think Minecraft has high potential to flop. High potential to flop. All right. Next up, we've got, who's that? That was Max. Yeah, that was Max. And thank you for watching for that long, Max. Appreciate that, man. Next up, Blackberry writes, okay, John, if you're going to do us dirty by announcing out of the blue of your last show, I'm going to announce daily that today is John's last show in the comments daily. You can do that. But listen, part of that is because, how do I put this? While I'm doing my show, I do not want a topic of my show to be my retirement. All right. I don't want to spend the next year or whatever constantly having to talk about my retirement. I want to focus on doing the show. I want to focus on us talking about movies and TV shows. So I don't want it to be a topic of conversation. And that's why, like, when it does come time for me to retire, I'm just going to announce it. I'm done. Because while I'm doing the shows, I want to be focused on the shows. And so, yeah, that's kind of my thing. Anyway, and is not meant in any way to do you or anybody else dirty. It's just that I want us to stay focused on our favorite movies and TV shows, and that's what we're here to talk about. So maybe it's 6 more months, maybe it's a year, but whatever. But that's what I want to focus on. I don't want to focus on anything else. All right, next up. Let's see. Brian Garcia writes, following up on what you shared about your friend who also has a Christmas birthday like me. Yes, a lot of people do forget my birthday, but the real ones who matter always remember, and that's enough for me. So yeah, Brian wrote in the other day to mention that Christmas Day was also his birthday. Happy belated birthday, by the way, Brian. And I mentioned that, like, one of my best friends when I was younger, his birthday is also on Christmas Day, which means a lot of people, understandably, like it slips their mind that it's also our friend's birthday. So I spent a lot of years, even after I moved out of Canada, and kind of lost touch with this guy. But even when I moved out, I still would try to make a note on Christmas Day to fire him off an email to say happy birthday. Just to let him know that somebody remembered it. That's all. Because it would be easy in the hoopla of Christmas to forget somebody's birthday. Let's see. Next up and final thing is, did you Jeremy John's 25th anniversary Phantom Menace review? I don't talk about other people's reviews or opinions about things. That's their thing. It was interesting to see Jeremy reflect on how his feelings on the film have changed over time. Nope, haven't watched it. I watched a lot of Jeremy's reviews. Jeremy, him and Chris Stuckman, I think, are the two best pure movie reviewers to ever do it on YouTube. Not all time in every other medium, but I mean, as far as YouTube film critics go, I think Jeremy and Chris, who are totally different types of reviewers from each other, by the way, but I think they've probably been the two best guys to ever just purely review movies on YouTube. They take very different approaches, review them from very different, what's the best way of putting it? One reviews more analytically, one reviews more experientially, and neither is better than the other. It's just that they're very, very different approaches, and I think they're the best. But no, I haven't seen that one, and I probably won't watch it because I don't care. Phantom Menace is a piece of garbage, shitty movie. It always has been, it always will be, and that's that. So there you go. All right, guys. That's all the questions that people have sent in, but you know what? I'm going to take a moment or two here to just, for those of you guys who are still in the live chat, and take, let me see here, take some questions. If you have a question and you're in the live chat, look in the live chat for what I just put in. Start off by writing all in capital letters, question, colon, and then write your question. That way I know you're asking a question to me and not somebody else. I'm not going to answer every one of them. I'm just going to pick a couple out here and answer those. Let's see. WNN watch. I watched Lethal Weapon. Thoughts? I like Lethal Weapon. I've always liked the Lethal Weapon movies. Let's see. What do you think the actual current state of Disney would be if Bob Chapek was still CEO? Oh, it'd be burning to the ground. By this point, it would be absolutely burning to the ground. Let's see. Next up. Boy, it's going by fast. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a really hard time. The questions are going by really quick. I'm having a hard time picking something out. Let me see if I can back up a bit. Let's see. King Daddy Goat writes, are you excited for Severance Season 2? Absolutely. Severance was a revelation. You know what? I almost tapped out of it after the first episode. If you're just getting started in Severance, do yourself a favor and get past the first episode. So watch the first episode, understand it's not the best. I almost tapped out of the show after the first episode and talked me into hanging in, and I'm so glad I did. It's so great. And yes, I'm definitely looking forward to Season 2. Michael Gonzalez writes, got any goals for the new year? I do. As a matter of fact, I have 2 very big goals for this year that I am not going to share yet. I'm not going to share what those 2 big goals are yet. So 100% I have some big goals, 2 specifically, and I will share those when the time becomes applicable. Let's see here. Amir writes, when do you think we'll get another theatrical Star Wars movie? Well, we're getting one. We're getting Mandalorian. That's coming. I can't remember the exact release date, but that one is coming. If you're asking me when will we get another theatrical Star Wars movie after Mandalorian, I have no idea. As great as Skeleton Crew is, and listen, always give credit. Even if there's something you don't like, give credit where credit is due. I've been saying for many years now that Kathleen Kennedy needs to go, but give credit where it's due. There have been a number of things they have done with Star Wars in the Disney era under Kathleen Kennedy that have been great. Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, Skeleton Crew, Andor, Rogue One. They've had really, really good things. Give credit where it's due. But it's such a mess over there right now. I have no idea when they might finally getting around to make another one. Let's see. Life is so rich writes, question, why do you believe if Superman makes 300 million, but is beloved, they won't give up on the franchise? I believe it would need to be profitable still a little. Then you're thinking small picture. Average people play checkers. They're trying to play chess. The big thing about DC, the new DCU, is not does this one movie make money? It's about how much money do the next 10 movies make us? You got to start thinking more than one-dimensionally and tiny picture. The big picture is, are we setting up this new cinematic universe in such a way that it will make us billions and billions of dollars over the long term? Not do we make an extra 50 million here or an extra 150 million there. Look, does DC want the new Superman movie to make money? Absolutely. 100% they do. 100% they would love for it to make money. But if you think for a second that, everything hinges on whether this one movie is successful, then you're thinking tiny micromanagement. You got to think bigger picture. James Gunn and the executives at Warner Brothers now understand that in order for the next 10, 15 DCU movies to make billions of dollars, they need to rehabilitate the image of the DCU first. It's not, DC isn't starting at a 0 point. They're starting in the negative. Everybody wants to pretend that doesn't exist. DC is not starting from scratch. They're starting in a hole. Because the old DC, the DCEU, got run into the ground to the point that their movies were literally making less than $200 million. Flop after flop after flop was the end of the DCEU. In order for them to get ahead, they first got to get out of the hole. And getting out of the hole means winning the audience back over. And that is going to take time. There's no one movie that is going to undo all the perceptual damage that has been done against the DC brand. You got to stop thinking tiny, small picture. You got to start thinking big picture. And big picture means that the way you get to the next 10 films making billions of dollars is by starting to win the audience back over. That is priority number one. Because guess what? If Superman makes $700 million, but it doesn't win the audience back over, the audience walks out of Superman going, hey, the trailers were great, so it made $700 million. The trailers were great, but the movie was meh. Guess what? You have just lost more money than you can possibly calculate for the next 10 million because you failed to win the audience back over. You didn't improve the reputation. The next film is going to suffer for that, and the film after that is going to suffer for it. Do they want Superman to make money? Of course they do. But is that their number one priority with this one movie? No. Their priority with this one movie is to start the process of winning the audience back, of changing the perception of the DCU, of getting people on board so that the next movie can make even more money and the one after that can make even more money. That's their number one priority. It's not their only priority. Yeah, Superman making $600 million would be great. Making more than $600 million would be awesome. Yes, they would absolutely like that. But all I'm saying to you is that if at the end of the day, Superman, say, makes $400 million, but the audiences loved it, the critics loved it, everybody buzzes about it, because lots of great movies don't do great at the box office initially. If Superman makes $400 million and all those other things happen, audiences love it, people buzz about it, the critics loved it, all that kind of stuff, DC will be happy because they know that we didn't make billions of dollars with this one movie, but we're going to make billions and billions of dollars over the next 10 because Superman started to win the audience back over. That is their number one priority. You can't, what killed the DCEU before was that they were so reactionary. Oh, we've got a plan. Oh no, this one movie didn't do what we thought it would do. Oh, what are we going to do? The sky is falling. That's what killed the DCEU in the first place, was that they were so short-sighted and were so reactionary. That isn't going to be James Gunn's DC. They have a long-term plan and they have their priorities straight. They're not going to be reactionary. It's not all about what happens in this next one movie. It's about the long-term 10-year plan, the next 15 films. It's about all of that, and they understand to get there, your road to getting there isn't about Superman making $700 million. It's about people loving Superman. That's the number one priority. The money it makes may be number two priority, but the number one priority is to win back the audience, to rehabilitate the image of DC so it can even be possible for the new DCU to compete with Marvel. That's why, even if Superman kind of disappoints financially, yeah, they'll be disappointed about that. But if it accomplishes all their main goals, they'll be perfectly fine. They'll be perfectly fine. Anyway, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show a part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who sent in questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so very, very much for your support. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show will return again tomorrow. The full crew will be back. It'll be me, Jonathan Ray, Chris Carr will be in on Friday as well. Tomorrow, I'm going to do my most anticipated films of 2025, as well as some movie news stories. On Friday, we'll do our big roundup, our top 10 films of 2024, as well as some other movies topics. I hope you guys will come back and join me for that. So that'll do it for us, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.